Did you see the Brock Purdy news?
Well, it hit my alerts. And Matt Mayoko, and I guess we'll start there because the Niners are working out of bed. I got the Warriors on my mind because I was just listening to you guys talk about the Warriors.
I'm just exhausted with the crushing of young players.
Well, it's
I'm exhausted. Honestly,
everybody's taking Steve Kerr's quote about guys coming in the locker room with a bad attitude. It's not just the youngsters. You don't think Draymond Green walked into that locker room with a bad? He said it on the podcast. Draymond Green walking into that podcast, walking into the locker room with a bad attitude, ripping people. It's not just Jordan Poole. Like, we want to pinpoint because these guys have won championships and we feel loyal to the champions, so we just go straight to the youngsters and rip them. Whatever.
Can I ask you about the loyalty thing? Because I found this interesting. Like, Brandon Belt is doing well right now, and there was some MVP chants up in Toronto. And then I looked at
Brandon Belt turned it around?
Well, whatever. But he's fine. I mean, he's got 3 home runs. We're acting like the guy's dominating, like whatever. But like there were a lot, and I don't put Brandon Belt on the same level as Draymond, Clay, and Steph. Though I'm sure there are people out there that would make that argument. I'm not going to be one of them. But I was looking at the comments on a tweet talking about him, and it was just Giants fans crushing him. And I'm thinking 2 or 3 years ago, man, Giants fans felt so much loyalty to Brandon Belt, and they did not want to move off him. Heck, 4 or 5 years ago, they did not want to move off of him. And now it's like, no big deal. And he's what I think a lot of Giants fans would say should have been a lifer.
Right.
Fine, whatever. He's not. And then I look at someone like Madison Bumgarner. Now, Bonte, I think there's a healthy debate we can have. Who's a bigger legend for their team and their sport? Clay and Dre or Mad Bum?
Yeah. It's right there.
Right?
It's right
there.
They're
very close.
Very close.
If you want to go with Mad Bum, I'll listen. You want to go with Clay and Dre, I'll listen to that too.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a right or wrong answer.
I mean, Mad Bum's 2014 postseason is iconic, but you also can't dismiss all the iconic games Klay Thompson's has had in the playoffs. Game sixes, just great games, great playoff runs. Draymond Green just doing what he's doing. But it's an argument that's going to be fun in 10 years.
Now, I'll raise my hand. When they were they went way too far and they didn't trade him, I thought, I'm admitting I was wrong here. I wanted to re-sign Madison Bumgarner. And here was my thought process at the time. You need 5 starters. He's a big body. It'll age well. Andy Pettit pitched because he kind of slings it.
Right.
Andy Pettit kind of pitched well late into his career. Not that Bum and Andy Pettit are like for like, but they're very similar in terms of their build, big lower body. I underrated attitude. And I also underrated that his body was breaking down on him.
Yeah,
right? Just straight up.
Well, you can have an attitude when you're at your peak performance, right?
Yes.
But when your skills start to diminish, you better check your tone.
So
you better check your tone to become a better teammate and a better guy in the community, a better just an all-around person. And we've seen guys do like Randy Moss at the end. It felt like at times he started to check his attitude,
Absolutely.
but then he went to Tennessee, some things happened, Minnesota, and he got around some other guys where it's just like, okay, Randy Moss is not that guy.
Exactly.
But his attitude, it felt like it started to change a little bit. T.O., at times, it felt like his attitude started to change a little bit. But when you don't change your attitude, like Bumgarner did. Now look at Madison Bumgarner. There's a lot of teams that need pitching, and nobody's even giving them a call.
Well, and how do Giants fans feel today? Because, again, I admit, like, I wanted Mad Bum to be a Giant for life. After they didn't trade him to get back what I felt would be a haul, they missed their opportunity, and I said, all right, let's keep him. I felt the sense of loyalty to Mad Bum. He was one of my favorite players of all time. What he did to the organization was unbelievable. Like, he dragged them to a World Series. They got 6 combined outs from their game 6 and 7 starters. Okay? He dragged them to that World Series. And even in 2016, he won that wild card game. He was amazing. 2012, 2010, he pitches at 20 years old, one of the biggest road games of all time in Giants history. So the point that I'm going at today, are Giants fans happy, or do they not even care about Madison Bumgarner not being on the roster?
I don't think they care. I don't hear people even asking about, well, there are certain people when he got released, bring him back for nostalgic reasons, for dirt cheap. But at the same time, if you watch him pitch and you watch his attitude, I think a lot of Giants fans, because I worked at that other station, this is 2016, where certain Giants fans are starting to get tired of his act.
Really?
Starting to get tired of his attitude, saying, okay, dude, enough's enough. just pitch because it was the old it was, hey, I don't want you bat flipping.
Yeah.
You can't celebrate. We don't want you having fun in the game. Today's game, it's more fun because we're allowing baseball players to show their personality, right? Bumgarner didn't like that. And in 2016, it was still scoffed at to say, oh, Yasiel Puig bat flipping. Get this bum out of here. You can't. What, this guy,
it has not aged well.
It has not aged well at all for Madison Bumgarner. And I saw it coming. And then it was like, okay, he's losing velocity.
Right.
He's not doing things. And then you read the article in the Athletic.
He's not working out at all.
Not working out.
He doesn't read scouting reports.
Reading scouting reports. Not listening to Dan Herron, who's trying to help him extend his career. Dan Herron has some damn good years in baseball.
Dan Herron was sick for a couple of years.
Man. I like Dan Herron.
He had a resurgence in Arizona.
Absolutely.
I actually was a big Dan Herron fan.
I love Dan Herron.
So I guess where I'm going with this is like Warrior fans, like at some point, like I understand the loyalty to the players.
You got to move on from some of these guys.
Well, like think about it this: if I were to just list the top 50 Barry athletes, let's just go down the list. Montana played somewhere else. Ronnie Lott played somewhere else.
Jerry Rice
played somewhere else. Chris Mullin played somewhere else.
Barry Bonds would have played somewhere else if baseball didn't blackball him. He would have been at Tampa Bay Ray.
Exactly. Wilt Chamberlain, Rick Barry, like just go right down the list. Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, all of these guys that I deem. Tim Lincecum, one of my favorite players of all time, went to the Angels for Christ's sake.
Do people realize that Joe Namath once played for the LA Rams?
I thought he was a Charger too. At one point.
Johnny Unitas was a Charger.
Was that what it was? Okay.
Johnny Unitas. Yeah. Do people know that Kenny Stabler was a Houston Oiler?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
so you get where I'm going with this. So like I understand. Believe me. It's part of what makes sports different than life. I understand the loyalty that we have to Dre and Clay and Steph and all of that. But you also have to have loyalty to the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, and if you're loyal to a fault, you can cripple your franchise and set your franchise back 5 years. You could essentially say the Giants got set back by giving those contracts to Brandon Belt, by giving those contracts to Brandon Crawford, by overpaying Jeff Samardzija. And the Johnny Cueto deal, look, he was a good Giant. But for the most part, that contract did not work out. Let's be real.
I mean, he had Tommy John.
Right. Let's be real. So when we look at the Golden State Warriors, the way I look at it like this.
Yes.
You have to be 100% sure that you can go down and say, I can contend for a championship with the same regime, with the same core. We all saw warning signs from Klay Thompson, from Draymond Green, where they slipped a little bit. Not much, but a little bit.
Enough to question.
Enough to question to say, can you really get through the Denver Nuggets? Can you really, like, we saw the LA Lakers tear apart the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers dominated that series.
And right now they're negotiating a 3-year extension with Anthony Davis.
So that's that.
So it's not like he's going to leave, I guess.
The Kings pushed you to a Game 7.
And they're going to get better.
And you needed a 50-burger from Stephen Curry. Hell, the Kings had a great shot to go up 3-1, but Harrison Barnes, old Fred. This is a wide-open 3, and the rest is history. So now it just feels like if you're going to do something with the Golden State Warriors, and Bob Myers has moved on, and we're going to miss Bob Myers, now it feels like the perfect time to tinker and reset the roster while Steph Curry still has something left in the tank. And he has a lot left in the tank. But what does that move look like? I have no idea. But if you want to give out an extension to Draymond Green, just know that it may not age well. If you give an extension to Klay Thompson, it may not age well.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially in a sport where the salary cap structure is so restrictive and so punishing.
Yep. So you got to get more athletic in this league, and now's the time to do it. And if you do it, we're all going to rip this regime. We're all going to miss Draymond Green. We're all going to miss Klay Thompson. But guess what? They're still going to have statues built.
Well, you're going to get over it,
Their numbers are still going to be in the Raptors.
If Bumgarner right now, like let's say he stays retired, and he comes to AT&T Park and gets to walk out onto the field, you don't think he's getting a standing ovation? Did you see Will Clark's 22 retirement?
Right.
Will Clark played for like 4 other teams.
And he left the Giants.
That's what, in free agency.
Unrestricted free agency, left the Giants and went to Texas.
Exactly. And you know what? I actually think that's a very interesting comp because the Giants had a financial decision to make, and they chose the Robbie Thompson, and that was the wrong move.
It was the wrong move.
I mean, let's just call it what it is.
And it pissed off Will Clark.
It really did.
And he left. And it took him a while to come back here. But you know what? We all honor him. We all clap for him. Jeff Kent one day. He's going to come back.
God, I
miss Jeff Kent.
He was such a good Giant.
I know what he is personally.
He was such
He's a
red
ass. That guy's we want to talk about Roberto Alomar Jr. Jeff Kent is a top 7 offensive second baseman in the history of the game.
Well, I think it's him and Ryan Sandberg as the greatest slugging second basemen of the modern era.
Go look at his 5-year run, folks.
And Altuve is going to be putting himself into that category.
Altuve's in that category.
Yeah, he's going to put himself in that category.
No doubt. You got to give Altuve
he's
love.
been amazing.
He has been amazing.
He's part of the reason why the Astros were slipping early.
Right, but you know what? Yeah, because he was out.
I know.
And now he's back, and now they're about to make a run. You best believe they're about to make a run.
The same Astros that lost a free agent superstar in Carlos Correa and then played a rookie and won the World Series?
Yep. And don't forget,
a young player on a winning team?
A couple years ago, they let George Springer walk to Toronto.
Right.
How they still won a World Series.
I know.
So they're fine. And Bregman, one day, they'll move on from him and they'll find the next guy because they trust their scouting department and they trust their drafting process here. There was one thing I was going to say. Oh, the babying. I'm seeing a lot of don't baby the youngsters, especially after that Steve Kerr, and we'll replay the clip.
I'm uncomfortable using that phrase with a bunch of men.
Think about this.
Grown people, adults.
You think they were babying Jordan Poole, Kuminga, and Moses Moody? They didn't play. All right? Kuminga didn't play in the playoffs. Think that's babying him? That's scolding him. That's punishing him. That's the opposite of babying him. Jordan Poole being babied? No, he was asked to come off the bench once the Warriors got the full strength. He was asked to play with so many different combinations. Nobody was babied on the Golden State Warriors.
Forget your family, because most people are going to go like, talk about your kids. You don't treat them all the same. What about your coworkers, right? Here in this element. Do you treat Spadoni the same way you treat Lubman?
Absolutely. I try to as much.
I talk to Spadoni different than Lubman because I'm trying to connect with them and get different things, and they're different people.
Relationships, but I treat them the same. I treat them both with equal respect. I respect Lubman as a man. I respect Spadoni as a man, and those are my little brothers
that's
right
different.
there. I look at them as my little brothers.
I know, obviously you respect them, but the way Spadoni and I talk is very different than the way Sam Lubman and I talk, because
Lubman may take a joke differently than Spadoni.
Exactly.
And vice versa. I get what you're saying.
Whole thing about you got to give every one of them tough love and rule with an iron fist. Good luck getting the best out of people in 2023, treating them all identical. Good luck with that.
Right. You're not going to do it because a lot of sensitivity, a lot of insecure. I don't know. It's a lot going there. But we talk about babying. You could say the Warriors at times handle Draymond Green with kid gloves. And he's a veteran. He's a veteran. So I don't want to hear the sting about, oh, man, Jordan Poole got babied. How did he get babied? He didn't play much in the playoffs. If anything, he didn't play well, and he sat his ass on the bench. That's the opposite of babying to me. That's just me personally. I don't know the definition of babying. Maybe people have different definitions of babying, but we'll continue to talk about this on the